Hello everyone, I'm Bruffy1322, and after the craziness of the 24-hour race, we're back at the old track, and hilariously, the whole 1322 racing team was starting at the back. This video is brought to you by my social media. Follow me on multiple platforms for text updates, as well as TikTok and Instagram for extra content via the link in the description. So after the craziness of the 24-hour race, we were back at the regular championship, and out of all the 6 team members that we had for the 24-hour race, 4 of them were here for this round, and we all qualified at the back, so it's no wonder we didn't win that 24-hour race. But, you know, we all know the score by now. The carts here are about as far from being equal as it's possible to be, and the worst that I've ever experienced them anyway. And we just all happened to get unlucky with the allocation this time around for this race. It was just sort of hilarious that in my first race back after the 24 hours, Penfold, myself, Hunter and Shipman all qualified right next to each other, but in 14th to 17th places respectively, out of 19 carts. And you know, at this stage I've already missed a few championship rounds and I can't make some others, so as I said a few episodes ago, I'll be doing sort of a one-on-one-off strategy for the remainder of the season in terms of this championship, which means that there's only 2 rounds to go for me after this one out of the 4 that are total remaining after this video. So I probably could have put in some more effort to find solutions to avoid some of the missed rounds, but with the carts being as they are, there's just no real incentive to bother, to be honest. I do believe that new carts are a possibility for next season, so I'll probably aim to put on a bit of weight and maybe get into the heavyweight class, but we'll see how a full season goes with that if, you know, new carts come out. But at the minute, you know, there's just barely any point. It's just all about luck, and since I'm one of the heaviest in the lightweight class, that also works against me, that a bad cart is made even worse. So yeah, when it comes to this round, you saw on that first lap I lost a lot of positions. You know, I'm second last in the race at this point, and now I work on sort of trying to get a bit of speed and get some positions, but it's a little frustrating when you're just at the back and there's nothing you can really do. Throughout the course of this race, and in fact both of the races, the carts that I had, my lap times were about 1.5 seconds per lap slower than what the best carts and the best drivers were doing. Now, I'm not 1.5 seconds off the pace. We know that. I've won races before in this championship, and even since my return I've won races. Yeah, it's a crazy difference, and there's some carts that are even worse than that. And for the second race I actually thought I was in a better cart than I was in this one, but the lap times suggest otherwise. So, you know, it's difficult, and when you're racing at the back like this, you kind of, you know, you're not really racing for anything. It's you're hoping to get some decent races out of it, but and it may be a bit of fun in terms of getting some overtakes and things like that, but it's just different, you know. I'm racing as hard as I can. Previous race winner in the championship, previous championship top 3 finisher, and I can't even get out of second last place. So, you know, it's interesting, and I'd say that. Now, I was able to close in a little bit, as you saw on that previous lap, and I go for a move up the inside there, which manages to come off eventually, and I'm up into 17th place out of 19 now, and Tom Shipman is ahead of me, one of my 24-hour teammates, and I thought, okay, let's have a little bit of fun. You know, we're not really racing for anything at this point. I'll try to get up to the back of him, and you know, we can push ourselves along. But I was kind of surprised by the difference in the pace as I went into the back of him there. Like right at the end, you know, it was kind of, I was gradually closing in on him at the straight, and then as it got to the end of the straight, I just basically launched up the back of him. So that shows how slow his kart was. He qualified, you know, behind me, 2 places behind me actually, almost last on the grid. So he was in an even worse kart than I was. And we know from the 24-hour race how quick he is, and he's also much lighter than me as well, so it must have been a really bad kart, that one. But I still, you know, I was still in that mindset of, okay, let's just have a bit of fun, you know, we'll follow a little bit, maybe I can push him in the back and we can go forward together like I've done before in previous races. He can, you know, make the move and I can just follow through if I am able to give him a little bit of boost up the back. But I was so taken aback by the difference in speed at the end of the straight that I went for it again this time, and I push him in the back at the end of the straight because my kart was quicker at that point. But it's just such a crazy closing gap that it's crazy that he's even able to be in 16th place at this point, and even with me giving him a little bit of a boost up the back, he got no closer to the guys in front really. Now he goes for a move up the inside there, but then he's on the outside for the next corner, and I obviously get a run, and at this point it was just like, yeah, okay, I'll just go and see what I can do, because trying to push him up the back when his kart is that slow, it's gonna just not do anything for both of us. So yeah, I went past, and he was able to just continue on his own behind, I guess, and that's me up into 16th place. And there's really the only real chance I have that the pace looks very, well, not great basically between everyone around me. There's obviously this guy in the white suit in front. It feels like me and Tom were both quicker than him, but beyond that it looks like people are driving away. So I've only really got one person that I can potentially try to overtake, and then after that there's not an awful lot. So when you've got 14 laps of this and you're on lap 6 and you're already thinking that, okay, well, nothing else is going to happen in this race apart from maybe one overtake, it's just kind of, why am I paying all my money to come to this championship? I mean, it's not inexpensive. It's sort of over £60 for one of these rounds, and it's obviously more expensive than it was when I used to race in this championship back in 2014, 2015. Back then we used to get 4 races, and now we get 2. So there's not an awful lot that is making me want to continue, and that's why, like I said, I could have probably made a bit more effort to not miss the rounds that I'm going to be missing. But I get a nice little move up the inside coming out of the chicane there, so you can still have some nice racing moments, I guess. But after that, nothing happened in this race. That was it. I actually gained 2 positions from, I think, people getting black flagged, so having to come into the pits and being disqualified. So I gained those 2 positions, but nothing on track. There was no on track overtakes, and my gap to those in front kind of just stayed the same. I was able to set a 69.420 lap as my best lap, as you can see in the top right. But beyond that, my lap times were pretty consistently within 0.2 of that best lap for most of the race, and this was about where where I could finish. In fact, I got lucky to get those extra 2 spots, to be honest. So 13th out of 19, not a great start for race 1. We'll go straight into race 2, where, like I said earlier, I thought I had a better kart for this one, but the lap times suggested that wasn't the case. So obviously I started in 13th place. I got up to 12th immediately off the line, and it felt like this kart had some decent straight line performance, but I almost feel like that was only the case early on in the race, because as the race went on, other karts I think got quicker, or mine got slower or something. But obviously with the second race the karts are all swapped, so the kart that won the race is given to the person who the kart that won the previous race is given to the person who started at the back for the second race. And there were quicker drivers behind. For example, Penfold, another one of my 24-hour teammates, as I managed to make a load of places there from crashes going on. So I've been quite lucky with people getting black flagged and crashing and stuff like that. But Penfold, one of my 24-hour teammates as well, he's behind me after not having a great race 1, and he's got a very, very quick kart because he inherited one of the karts that were up at the front in the previous race. So I even though I'm now in the mid pack, I'm conscious of the fact that there's going to be quicker people coming behind me. Now I thought I was in a relatively quick kart. There's another one of my 24-hour teammates, Kevin Hunter, in front. Again, I thought we'd try to go forward together, but it felt like my kart was better in this race. But like I say, the lap times just didn't suggest that by the end of the race, and I was actually my best lap in this race was 0.7 of a second slower than it was in the first race. Now some of that can be just the nature of the track and the track evolution, and maybe it's getting a bit hotter, so the tires aren't working as well. But it's weird. You can't really tell unless you've got the lap times in front of you, which you don't. I find it very difficult to tell whether my kart is good or not most of the time, because I thought this one was good and it turned out it was worse in terms of lap time, at least, than the previous one. So yeah, as you saw, Penfold managed to get up the inside of me there, and he like I said, he has a very quick kart, so he's trying to make his way up through the order basically, and see how far up the order he can get. And that was when I realised also, as I pass Kevin here, that was when I realised that sort of my kart wasn't as good as what I thought it was. You only really realise that your kart isn't that good when someone comes flying past you, drives away from you on the straight. So yeah, at that point I was kind of like, okay, I'm in the mid-pack, let's just see what I can get out of this one, have a bit of fun. Maybe I can try to follow Penfold a little bit, but he just seems to be so much faster on the straights. I was being pressured from behind as well by, again, quicker karts. So it was a balancing act between trying to push ahead and go forward and defending my position from people behind. It was more of an interesting race than the first one, at least. There were battles to be had. It wasn't just getting to lap 6 and then nothing happened for the remainder of the race like it was in the first race. And that obviously comes from the fact that in the first race you have your qualifying in the karts that you use in the race, so everyone's kind of already in their pace positions, whereas there's a lot more of a mix-up where some people at the front might be in slower karts and vice versa, to allow for more battling and changing of position. So I managed to get a nice little slipstream behind the very quick Penfold to get up into 8th place going into the first corner. Again, it's not really a sort of legitimate overtake that I did all on my own. It was more a case of just following Penfold through and taking advantage of the situation. And then we both basically come up to a bit of a roadblock. This is the kart in front of us. I think they finished in 2nd place in the first race, and they've been going sort of backwards from that. But they were defending quite well and quite hard as well. So we were stuck behind this kart for a while. And spoiler alert, I never get past. Penfold does, and the reason I'm keeping this footage in is because he was very happy about his overtake to get up past the kart in front. So I'm going to leave it in, and he'd kill me if I didn't include it, because he was very much looking forward to seeing that from another perspective. He sets it up multiple corners in advance. So yeah, we're both kind of just stuck here, and we both have quicker karts, as you can see, and Penfold's is, I mean, I think both of them are reasonably quick in a straight line, but Penfold's got that little bit of extra grunt in the bottom end of his kart, where I don't. Mine, it does come on eventually in the top end and that with that top speed, but I think it just took a little bit of, it took too much time to get there, and yeah, it was a little frustrating for the both of us, I think, because we both felt that we could go quicker if we could get ahead. Our lap times, as you can see, are sort of in the low 1 minute 11s, the high 1 minute 10s, and most of the time that I was behind, that was what my lap times were. Whereas later on in the race, where I get sort of one clean lap on my own, I'm going sort of 6 or 7 tenths of a second quicker. So it was possible for me to go quicker in this race, but it's a completely different thing to be able to catch up and put in a decent lap time to being able to make an overtake. And I just didn't have enough overspeed in this kart to make that overtake, and I thought Penfold had it there, to be honest. I thought that, okay, he's going to get round, but he also doesn't have enough overspeed in the kart. His is even quicker than mine to make it around the outside of that first corner, and the kart in front is doing a good job at keeping him behind. So this is where he finally manages to set it up nicely. He sort of puts up, this is something that you can do in karting, in racing in general. You want to try and set up a move such that the other person is offline or compromised in certain corners, as I'm also trying to defend. you set them up so that they're compromised in a corner in front. They go for a defensive move, and the person in front of us was very defensive, and then you use that against them. So he obviously, they were on the inside, he is able to get the overlap around the outside. He's got enough pace in the kart to be able to hang it all the way around the outside, which then becomes the inside for the final corner, and he gets the move done and he's able to drive away. I'm not so lucky. I can't get the move done like that. I managed to go try up the inside here, because for the once they weren't defensive, but I don't have enough overspeed in my kart to be able to hang it out around the outside. So it's just it's trying to find a way through, and it can be a little frustrating to not be able to make the move. And I figured I was so close on the back that hey, I'll try it around the outside here, but again, I don't have the speed advantage that Penfold had, and even he couldn't make it work on the outside. So it was a little stupid for me to try it, and I ended up losing a position on the inside to the person who I gained that position from in the exact same way a few laps before. So yeah, it was just, I'm in the mid pack, I'm not really progressing, I'm not losing positions, it's just kind of holding station. I'm trying my best to make places, but it's not really working. The guy in the red is also trying, and he can't make it work either. Credit to the person in the kart in front, they are defending quite well. They're also just solidly defending, but that's something that you've got to do if you're in a slower kart, and they certainly were. So, it's one of those races, it's one of those races where you're just doing the best that you can, but sometimes you've just got to accept that you're not in a kart that's going to get you anywhere close to the higher positions. So we're coming on to lap 10 now out of 14, and this is where it gets a little bit dicey, and I think I'm going to just let it play so you can hear what I was saying at the time.
Fucking hell! Assholes!
So yeah, I was a little bit frustrated by that. Basically, I think it was the guy in the Red Bull suit just launched up the inside of me and the guy in the other blue and black suit in front of me now. Hit him into me. I obviously lost 2 positions from that, and it's frustrating again, because I spend all this time defending, I spend all this time trying to keep my position and battling hard in this mid pack, and then you just have someone come launch up the inside and knock you clean out of the way. As you can see, the gap to the 3 in front is absolutely huge now, and the guy in the blue suit immediately gets a black flag, knows it, and comes straight into the pits. So there was just at least he got a black flag for it, but that doesn't really help me. So by the end of the race, as we come onto the final lap, I've managed to catch up to that group again. That's where I was able to set my better laps with a 110.1. So I am able to go sort of half a second quicker than what I am when I'm in a train, but it's just a case of that's not enough to make an overtake in these kind of situations. So yeah, I was feeling a bit aggrieved at this point. I was in 10th place after being in 9th for so long, and the only reason the guy in the blue and black suit is ahead of me is because of someone else clattering into the both of us and knocking me clean off. So I was a little bit aggrieved, and I wanted at least this position back. So they were obviously in a little bit of a train, and I'd managed to catch up to them quite well, but I thought that they were going to sort of slow each other down coming into this hairpin. So I decided to carry the speed all the way around the outside, and it works absolutely beautifully to give me the overspeed on the exit, gives me the inside for this corner, and then I'm able to get back into that 9th place. So a nice little move to end after what was quite a frustrating race. And I guess we'll see in the 2 rounds remaining that I'm going to be doing of this championship what kind of luck I can get in terms of what kart I get, because that's pretty much all it is now.